Welcome along to the EXFL Tier 2 Season 9 British Grand Prix. We're here for round 10 out of 22. Finally in double digits. We've got 14 drivers ready to do battle with the 17.5 minutes left of qualifying. We are waiting on Eggy, but he's struggling with his Wi-Fi. But we're here in Silverstone, one of the biggest and best Grand Prix of the year. And first off, we have the Haas exiting the pit lane of Christian, making his debut last time out in Austria, getting a point in P9. Even though he was involved in a few collisions, he makes his way into turn 2. Revamped, revitalised Silverstone circuit on this year's game. It's changed a bit to look more realistic, a bit more bumpy, but I'm sure it'll look ever more great. As for the drivers' opinions, they'll probably vary. Just him at the moment, but we have 3 exiting the pit lane. So we have the Williams of Chaz, followed by the Ferrari of AFC Callum, followed by the McLaren of Carbro. A lot of drivers home Grand Prix today. They'll be hoping to do well. There we go, there's Eggy. Apparently it's going to be a dry race as well. So, to the delight of some people. Right, Laser Gamer then on the straightaway in the Ferrari. Carbro, home Grand Prix for him. Warren, home Grand Prix. Well, no. Irish. Same with Oren. Chaz, home Grand Prix for him. Ams, nope. Morgan, one of the top 3 in the World Championship. Home Grand Prix for him. Same with Dave. Same with Drifting. Bluey, not for him. Seb, Championship leader. Home Grand Prix for him. Same with Callum. Not for Oren or Chubster. But anyway, speaking of the championship, Sebastian leads by 17 points ahead of Morgan, who's a further 4 points in front of Oren. The top 3 separated by under 1 win, 21 points between the lot. Oren, who has absolutely been rapid in the last couple of few rounds to gain what was at one point 70 points behind Seb to bring it to under 1 win now. And Morgan, bit by bit, has also been gaining, but he's made a few mistakes himself. Canada opting for the wets when it wasn't time. Imola retiring when he could have still outscored Seb. Crucial points lost. But Seb, I'm sure, has also lost quite a lot of valuable points. A couple P8s have been a bit of a downfall for him. Like last time, the week before last time in Spain, fighting all race with Morgan, Alex, and Oren, as well as Chubster, now in the mix. In Austria, it came down to penalties. While this track doesn't exactly scream penalties, there are obvious corners where you could get 1 or 2, which could affect some things. But in recent seasons, we've seen the fight on track for the win, which is what we all want to see. Laser currently doing his first run. Carbro just in front of him. Warren on the medium compound tyres. Chaz 1 minute 4 in the middle sector. Ams just finishing the middle sector as well. 1 minute 3.5, half a second up. Morgan in front on the outlap, getting out of the way. Dave in the pit lane, Drifting on the inters, finishing the first sector. Christian in the pit lane. Bluey finishing the first sector as well. Seb on his outlap. Callum on a lap. And Oren currently on the inters, same with Chubster. So Chaz sets the pace then, but I'm expecting, Ams to go half a second clear, 27.4. We could see potentially into the 26s, as I believe Chubster was mentioning that. 3.8, 3 tenths off Ams at the moment, though. We saw Chubster and Chaz lock out the second row last time out in a changeable conditions Austrian qualifying session. Laser splits the 2 McLarens then. 3 thousandths between Carbro and Chaz. Callum currently a second off. Warren crosses the line, 2.4 off on the mediums. Morgan begins his first run in the 27s for his first sector. Drifting into the pit lane. And Bluey to cross the line. Will be 2.8 seconds down. Seb begins his lap also on the intermediates, as does Oren. See Morgan fly through Cop's corner. He's a bit of a struggle on this game. And yeah, like I mentioned previously, last time out, it's been nothing but good respectful racing between Morgan and Seb and Oren so far this season. No actual major collision or controversy. We know this is the kind of track to spark it, but for now we're just hoping to see some good racing. Dave exiting the pit lane, Christian back on track, drifting back in the pit lane, so everyone's been out on track at least once. We'll see Morgan then, into Vale, round the final couple corners. And a 27.4 is the time to beat. He's going to cross the line. It's 27.8 to put himself 4 tenths off. So Ams currently leading the way on good pace. Laser currently still second. And Seb round the final corner on the inters just to see what he can do for a first run. It's going to be a 30.9 to put himself the slowest of the 10 runners at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't think Eggy is able to join. As we see Oren in the background, still on those intermediates. Heading into Stowe now. So Am's still setting the pace, going for another run. Currently just under a tenth off in the first sector. As across the line, Oren goes 1.5 tenths clear of Seb. So they're both on the inters. That could be kind of representative to see where they are when they do their soft runs. You see Callum currently 800ths down in the first sector. Very wide through Chapel. Has he found any time? No, he's down by 4 tenths. Chubster up by slightly a small amount. Carbo down. And Ams has gone off. So it looks like he's aborted the lap. Dave now beginning his lap, so into turn 1, foot flat to the floor, same with 2. The first corner you actually have to worry about. Turn 3, heavy braking to the right, takes it perfectly on the inside curb. A little bit of a wiggle though as he progresses through the opposite lock and onto the straight. DRS wide open to finish the end of the first sector. Keeping right to the right. So 27.9, flicks it left into Brooklands. Now round Luffield he goes, taking a nice line early on power, straightens up as he heads all the way round to Copse Corner, building speed, climbing through the gears. Do have to lift a little bit, even in qualifying. Copse is a much more difficult corner as he now heads through the most famous complex of corners, potentially on the Formula 1 calendar. Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel. He's taken that very nicely indeed. He'll finish the middle sector with a 4.3, currently around 8 tenths off the pace, which would put him around 7th, as the top 11 are all in the pit lane. So it's just Dave into Stowe, as crossing the line is the Haas of Christian to go P6. Now into Vale, it's a make or break little section, and he's made it pretty well. Now around the final corner, don't really have to worry about it. All it is traction, and he goes across the line to be 1 second off the pace in P8. Everyone with a time on the board apart from Drifting, who's about to begin his lap now. So Drifting, who got his first pole position in the EXFL Tier 2 last time out in Austria, crosses the line to begin his first attempt. After being on the inters, flying into turn 1 then comes the Alpine driver. His home Grand Prix, yet to pick up a victory. He's had quite a few podiums to his name. He's been very consistent the last 4 or so rounds since China. And that win is coming soon, I'm sure of it. Will it be today? It would be a great first victory as he has the Ferrari behind him, I believe, Callum. So into the first sector, 27.8. It's a pretty solid time so far. Taking a very nice line through Luffield. It's just a great camera angle. Someone's gone off in the gravel there. You can see the marks. Now into Copse Corner. He'll just fly by, keeping it on track, valid, at 1 with the car, right on board this time, through Maggots, through Beckett's, and Chapel coming up. Very nice line, making sure not to invalidate on exit. Car gets out of the way there. It's a 3.8 in the middle sector, so he is definitely in the fight here, and minimum could put him on the front row, but can he challenge Ams the boy? We're still yet to see lap times from Seb and Oren, but Drifting will be the first of those 3. And we're going to have to wait for Morgan as well. So drifting round the final few corners, the top 3 in the championship are currently in front of him. And he goes P2, 3/10 off. Drifting, who is the special case in this case of he's the one trying to close down the top 3 and make it a 4-way fight as Chaz F1 now goes on to provisional pole with a 27.3. Great lap from him. We'll have to see what Seb does as he now begins his lap. And Morgan currently in front of him. So the top 2 in the World Championship in that image right there. As these 3 all closing in on one another, and Drifting's going to want to be a part of that, but he's currently lacking quite a lot of points behind them. So he's just got to make each race count. Laser's still up in 4th at the moment. That's a great effort. Currently invalidated, and I'm sure Morgan will have something to say about that. Same with Oren, same with Seb, as he's 9/10 up, 27.7. So he's roundabout where Drifting was. He's got to find the time. At the moment, Chaz F1 is leading the way. Right, try and get Eggy in there. As making their way through the middle sector then. Morgan, who's 32 thousandths up in the first sector, as there is Eggy. Has Morgan found any more time? Yes, it's half a second. And that is the time he needs, as he's currently half a second off. Seb has gone off and invalidated, so he's currently going to stay last as it is. So Seb messing up his run. Let's see what Morgan can do then. Will it be Chaz or will it be Morgan? Through Vale now, just got to make sure not to mess up any of the curbs. Get the power on as early as possible. Round the final corner comes the Alpine. It's a 27.3, 23 thousandths he's missed out on. Fine margins, but Chaz still holds on to pole position. Chaz, who has 2 poles to his name. Morgan, who has 2 poles to his name. Oren, who has 2 poles to his name. And Seb, currently with 7 poles to his name, will have to go again with 5 minutes remaining. And the pressure builds now because he's only got 1 more shot left. Ams, who that time from earlier still stands to be 3rd. And he's clearly not on a flying lap. Drifting has found a 10th in the first sector. That's a really, really solid first sector. Nearly in the 0.6s does the Alpine driver go. Alpine, who are clearly the best team in Tier 2 this season, putting up a fight with RB and then absolutely clearing them, as unfortunately Seb's teammate Josh misses another race. We'll see Drifting through this. I think he's gone off there, or not. He took a very slim line, exit of Chapel, but he's up by 3/10. So whatever time he lost in the first run, he's found. As Oren goes P2, 23 thousandths cover the top 3, and Oren by 100th has missed out on pole. Drifting round the final corner. Where can he place his Alpine across the line? It's unfortunately still 5th. He only found a 10th, so he did lose some time. And that is very close. As here we go. Ams has also found some time. He's into the 27.7s too. As Eggy is in his car. That's good to see. Seb into the pit lane. Only have 1 run left. That is so close, the top 3. But it's not the top 3 you were thinking of Morgan, Oren and Chaz. Morgan, Oren and Seb. It's Morgan, Oren and Chaz still leading the way. Looks like we aren't going to get into the 26s per se, but it's still anyone's game. Laser's still up in 6th. It's good to see. Carbro, then Christian, then Chubster. Considering his performance in Austria, that's going to be a bit disappointing for him. Dave rounds out the top 10. Callum, currently, I think, beginning a lap. Warren in the pits. Bluey and Seb. Eggy now on an out lap. I don't know how much time is left as soon as Oren stops making yellows. Didn't quite see that. As Drifting trying to hurry back to the pits. They're all trying to get one last run in. And Ams crosses the line, slowing down. Looks like he didn't carry it on and made a mistake somewhere. 3 minutes 19, so I think that might be Ams done unless he's fueled to go for another run. And Oren, with 3 minutes 10 remaining, should get in and out. Drifting the same, right behind him. Laser currently on a lap, 27.8 for the first set, so he's found a bit of time. If he can place that Ferrari above any of these 5 in front, that would be a great effort. FC Callum, 82 thousandths down in the first, 4.3 down. He's carried on, so all pressure lies on Seb to get a good enough time in that can climb him up the order. Otherwise, he is going to start P14 for his home Grand Prix, the championship leader. It's the last thing he wants, as Eggy, for the first and only time in this session, will start his lap. Goes a bit deep into turn 3, but carries the momentum forward into 4. Gains the traction, applies the power through 5. DRS open to finish the first set till we've seen 27 sevens. See what he can do. It's at 28.0, so currently about 3/10 off as he heads into Brooklands. So close to invalidation as he now goes through Luffield. Gets on the power. Am's still out there, but slowing in the S's. So close for pole. 100th Oren missed out on. 23 thousandths between Morgan. Fine margins between these lot. And who is going to get pole for the British Grand Prix? Seb's still in the pit lane. There's not much time left as Drifting and Laser also in the pits. I think Laser might be done with this session then. 1 minute 33 on the clock. Drifting still in the pit lane. I believe that might be it then, as he is going to head out, but he's not got enough time, I don't think. It is one of the longest pit lanes of the season. Same with Oren as well. He's in the pit lane, so Oren is done for this qualifying, and he will start no higher than second. And same with Christian. Anyway, we'll see what Eggy can do. Across the line, 4.2, about 7/10 off. Crosses the line. It's P12, unfortunately. So he'll start no higher than 12th. Seb on his outlap. Chaz versus Morgan versus Seb if he can produce the lap he needs. He was currently around 1.5 off Oren, which would put him down in 5th. And Drifting is... It might have been a glitch. I don't know. 43 set. It's still going to be kind of close. I wouldn't be surprised if Drifting just straight lines the S's. But he might have enough time. He'll probably, if he does, Drifting's going to be the last one over the line. 30 seconds left for the Alpine driver, and he should just make it. As going off there, Laser across the grass as someone just crossed the line and changed their position. I think that was Chubster, yeah, up to 7th. As Laser's going to be in AI, I think, because in 10 seconds. So, Seb begins his last attempt. And what about Drifting then? I believe he's made it. He has made it with 1 second remaining. Now, Oren is done in 2nd. Laser's done in 6th. And Christian's done in 9th. We'll see who is next to cross the line. It is going to be Bluey, who's up by a couple tenths. But he'll need to find 1.5 seconds overall to gain a position, as he has the Mercedes of Eggy, I believe, going again. So Bluey crosses the line. It's P14. What about Eggy? Move himself up to P4. That's a brilliant effort from the Mercedes as he fueled himself for another run, and he's put himself right in contention, but unfortunately he's just missed out. We'll see the McLaren of Carver across the line to stay, P9. Laser's already done. We'll see what AFC Callum can do, but he's 7/10 down currently. Behind him is Warren, and we'll see what the top guys are going to produce soon. I believe that's the Alpine behind him, so we'll see what Warren can do across the line. Currently 13th, crosses the line, still 13th. And is this Morgan? Can it be pole? Yes, it is! Morgan by 39 thousandths snatches pole until Chaz F1 now takes pole back. Am's P2. And we'll see what can Seb do round the final couple corners. It's been such a close qualifying, but wait for the championship leader. 27.1. It's the time to beat! Seb takes pole for the 8th time in Tier 2 history. Seb is on pole right at the end. Chaz gave it his all. Same with Am, same with Morgan. As Drifting goes P6 in the end. Seb, right at the end, proves why he's winning the championship at the moment. Seb is on pole position for the British Grand Prix. Very close quality. That was anyone's game. Chaz showing respect, saying fair play to Seb. And yeah, Chaz almost had it. Great qualifying from Ams as well to be P3. And that really does, though, a 180 into it, where Morgan and Oren were hoping to gain on Seb more. And Seb has just popped himself up in a pole, while his two closest rivals are 4th and 5th, with Drifting in 6th. So great stuff from Chaz and Ams to get in the mix. Eggy, that's a brilliant lap considering the difficulties he had. And then there's a bit of a gap to Laser, who still gets P8 respectively. Chubster down in 9th. I'm sure you'll be a bit disappointed with that. Carbro rounds out the top 10. Christian P11, Dave P12, Callum P13, Warren 14th, and Bluey rounds out the 15 drivers. And it looks like Oren missed going out for the last run. But that's qualifying. The race is a different aspect, and it should be dry, from what I've heard. Yep. Here we go then. The drivers are on the grid. We're getting ready for the British Grand Prix. It's a track that has the most home Grand Prix of anyone. It's where they want to perform the best. Looks like it could be soft medium at this rate, unless they switch. Yeah, Seb on pole for an 8th time now. Will try and lead and try and extend his margin, as we'll wait for those ticking noises to time us down to the start of lap 1 of 26. And who can come out on top? Will Oren or Morgan gain on Seb? Will he extend his advantage? We've got 15 drivers. This is the British Grand Prix. This is round 10 of 22 as we approach the halfway mark next week. Here we go then. In Silverstone, the 5 lights come on for the drivers. And when they go out, we're away here for the British Grand Prix. Seb leads away from Chaz, and then Ams and Morgan wheel to wheel. Heading into turn 1, Seb leads them away from Chaz. Morgan in front of Ams as Oren stays behind the McLaren. Into turn 3 then. Any sorts of sends as Chaz tries a move for the lead of the Grand Prix as Oren and Morgan also fight as the top 2. Chaz on softs, Seb on medium. So Seb is going to be vulnerable as we head down the straight into Brooklands. And Chaz trying to use his batteries in the slipstream of the RB. Does he try to the inside? He'll try to stay in the slipstream as down the inside, Oren versus Morgan. Into Luffield they go. Wheel to wheel stuff with Ams also trying to get in on the act as Chaz and Seb will lead them up to Copse Corner as Oren makes a brilliant start to get ahead of Morgan and Ams. Into Copse then as Chaz is gaining, but he's going to stay behind for now, so no shenanigans as they all make it single file on the opening lap here, apart from Eggy going off there in P9 as Carbro has gained a couple places up into 8th. Warren into the top 10. Christian's lost ground. Chubster's lost a bunch of ground down to last. Seb still holds on to the lead then from Chaz from Oren, who is flying through the pack on the soft compound tyres, and Chaz is gaining this time into Stowe Corner, the top 2 wheel to wheel. Oren makes it 3 wide as Oren goes to the inside, but Chaz now takes the lead of the British Grand Prix as Seb had to yield and drops down to 3rd. Chaz then leads his home Grand Prix from Oren, sandwiched by the 2 British drivers. Then Morgan 4th as Ams has dropped down to 5th, and Drifting holds his own in 6th. Laser versus the McLaren make contact, and Eggy gains the pair of them because they connected. So Laser and Carbro, more collisions between the two into turn 1 then as we look to the front. Callum gets a penalty. Biggest gainer at the moment, definitely Warren, as dropping down the order, Carbro and Laser make more contact between the two. But yeah, what a start from Warren to get up 6 places. As we look back to the front, is Oren trying to take the lead away from Chaz. He's going to go onto the grass nearly. He's going round the outside at Brooklands. Chaz will leave in the space. Oren goes off a little bit, but he's to the inside. Nearly makes contact with Chaz and does, in fact, make contact with Chaz. But on the exit of Luffield, Chaz will get the better exit. But they're going to remain wheel to wheel into Copse Corner. The Williams versus the Aston Martin. Chaz stays in front. And yeah, Seb just trying to hold his own. As there we see the tyres, so the top 2 on the softs. That's why they are the top 2 at the moment. The 5 follow behind on mediums. So Chaz still holds out versus Oren. The top 3 in the World Championship have a contender to fight of Chaz, and Oren is the first to strike as he's going around the outside with the DRS into Stowe. And who will prevail? Oren's going to try on the outside, and there's contact between the Williams, and the Williams spins out of Chaz as well, and he rejoins into Seb, who now takes back the lead. And unfortunately, Chaz's home Grand Prix has had a spanner in the works as he's dropped down to 10th. They connected, the slightest of touches, and Oren has unfortunately sent himself down a place, Chaz down many places, but now the top 3 in the World Championship are 1, 2 and 3 on track, and Ams, like he was in Austria, just staying behind them lot. And now Seb regains the lead. I'm sure Chaz is going to be annoyed. Really unfortunate, as now that will be looked at. So Oren's under investigation. The top 3 all in one angle there. Seb stays in front of the Aston Martin for now. Morgan just trying to bide his time. It's a comeback job for Chaz then as he goes to the inside of Callum to take P9 away. And Seb then holding on with 78% battery. Oren gaining and gaining. Will he try and move into Cop's corner? No, he's going to stay behind. Morgan with 60%. As we see the helicopter cam as they head through Maggots and Beckett's. Chaz making more moves ahead of Dave now. As the top 4 so closely separated as Carbro is making a move on Christian. Gaining in the slip. There's the change of leadership. Oren now gets back into the lead ahead of Seb. And Morgan holds on to P3. As Oren goes a bit wide there. Seems like he's struggling as Chaz has made up 3 places already into P7. Goes the Williams. So Oren now holds on to the lead. As Dave and Warren now fight for P8 and 9. Over the bump goes the Haas drivers. Callum pushing Warren through the corner there. Fastest lap for Oren. So Seb's fine. Morgan's fine. Oren has got that incident looming over his head now. But he's just got to get on with it and drive. Eggy also fighting Drifting. Drifting has been a bit silent this race. Hasn't actually kept with the top guys. And now he's under huge pressure from Eggy, who goes to the inside. As I don't think there's any swaps in the top 4. And Eggy gets up into the top 5 then. As Chaz will slowly but surely close on these guys with those soft compound tyres to help him. Carbo to the inside of Chubster for P11. Also on the softs, getting ahead. So that's the point. Oren on the softs compared to these lot on the mediums. So he's going to be pitting early. And if these lot want to go onto the softs at the end, that does leave Oren in a bit of trouble. But the top 2 in the World Championship of Seb and Morgan, they're looking alright at the moment. And yeah, Oren just tried to go around the outside of Chaz. Chaz may have gone a bit wide. Oren may have turned in a bit. That contact model where the 2 tyres hit and you go off and then Oren went off. Chaz seemed fine and then Chaz just lost it. The only penalty so far goes to AFC Callum in P10. But in the points at the moment, so that's good. As Chubston and Carbro fight. Laser and Bluey fight. They're pretty separated now. As, whoa, down the inside. Callum on Warren. That was a bit opportunistic. Dave tagging along with Chaz. Not letting him get away. Hoping he can just bring him along. As Dave, also on the softs, is able to stick with. And Drifting just about sticking with Eggy. 1.8 off these top 4. And Oren using a bunch of battery. Seb with plenty of battery. Just letting Oren do his thing. Letting his softs run out. Look how much he gains from 8 tenths down to 3 tenths. But yeah, warnings and penalties and such could also play a part. And Ams doing exactly what he did in Austria. Just holding onto the back of this train. Seeing what he can do. But until the pit stops where he lost out last week, maybe he can gain this time round. Great helicopter shot as they go through Cops, the top 4. So yep, at the moment Oren's just got to keep in mind of that incident. Hope it doesn't amount to anything and carry on this forward. But yeah, it's Oren versus Seb versus Morgan versus Ams. Oren leads the British Grand Prix. The Irish driver behind him too, who want to win their home Grand Prix. And in the background, we see Drifting gaining on Eggy. Will he go to the inside? Yes. And looks like he's going to get the place on the Mercedes driver. Yellow in the background. Looks like Christian's gone off there. He's spun around. As round the outside goes Callum versus Warren. Goes off a bit as they head into Vale. Will Callum send it? No, he'll be behind for now. And yeah, unfortunately, Christian's dropped down to the last there. He's had a spin. And Carborough and Chubster also fighting, as going off there is Carborough as Warren gets a penalty. So Chubster now in front of the McLaren driver. Drifting has lost a whole second to the guys in front. And look, Chaz is already back within a second of these guys as well. Drifting struggling then for race pace, it seems. But with a bunch of battery. Hopeful that he can gain on these guys. Eggy gaining on the Alpine, but not enough for an overtake. And Chaz is definitely with these guys now, as there's fights galore happening, as the Ferrari and the Haas fight, and the McLaren and the Sauber fight for the final points paying position. Chubster all over the back of Carborough. He's going to go into Copse corner wheel to wheel with the McLaren, as Callum all over the back of Warren. We'll see them wheel to wheel into Copse corner then. Who's going to prevail, the McLaren or the Sauber? The Sauber sticks it round as Callum goes off there, as Dave now gets a penalty. And it seems like Carborough held off. As we look into Stowe, Seb is gaining. And it looks like he's going to try and take the lead away from Oren. He's going to go round the outside, but Oren breaks late as Morgan on the inside of Seb too. Will he try a move? The top two in the World Championship don't quite have an overtake, as Morgan just biding his time. Seb with plenty of battery. More battles between 11th and 12th, 10th and 9th. Laser now 3 second. As Chaz is with Eggy and Drifting. Losing 3/10 that lap. As Ams, one of these is going to have to make a move soon, I'm sure. They're going to get a bit tired of staying where they are. And I'm sure Morgan's ready to strike when he has, as Callum gets past Warren. But they're still wheel to wheel. We'll have to look to the leaders. No change. Drifting still ahead of Eggy, still ahead of Chaz. Dave just hanging on to DRS. And Callum's flashing. Warren's going to use all his battery, but Callum's got the DRS and Warren doesn't at the detection. So that has saved Callum. And these two are closing up on these two as well. So both battles become one. Morgan all over the back of Seb. The top three are as close as they can be. They fly. As Chaz now gets a 3 second, unfortunately. They fly through Maggots and Beckett's into Chapel. Seb not with the greatest exit. Morgan all over the back of Seb. And now he's going to go to the inside. He might take the lead. The three in the World Championship go 3 wide into Stowe corner. And Morgan takes the lead. Or does he? As Seb hangs it round. And so does Oren. And Morgan, who was trying to gain 2 places, stays where he is. Seb now into the lead. Oren P2. And Morgan has to stay where he is. That was the money shot right there. As that isn't the money shot, as the other three in 9th, 10th and 11th fight into Vale. Carborough is ahead of Callum, who's broke a bit late there. Morgan tried to get the pair of them. Seb hung it round the outside. Oren just made sure he kept it out of anyone's way as he slides there. Those softs are definitely falling off a bit. But the top three in the World Championship, the top three in the race, 3 wide into Stowe. And Ams, I'm sure, has front row tickets for this. As Drifting and Eggy is a bit closer to the Alpine. Drifting goes a little defensive, but Eggy to the inside will get the place. Drifting, can he try a switch back? No, Eggy places his car perfectly to avoid any sort of switch. As Carborough making moves in front of Warren now into P9, a 4-car fight. As Dave, another 4. Wait, so we have a 4-car fight for first, a 4-car fight for 5th, and a 4-car fight for 9th. As Laser's currently on his own, so is Christian, so is Bluey. So 3 4-way battles for 3 big positions, as Oren is going to take the lead back from Seb. And Morgan's going to stay behind, or Willie. He's going to go to the inside. Does the Alpine driver to overtake his rival. And Oren in front. As Drifting gets back in front of Eggy, or does he? They're wheel to wheel. Chaz looking at this, trying to see if he can do a Hamilton as they're going to go wheel to wheel through Vale. Does Chaz try a switch back? He'll try, but Eggy stays in front. And so does Drifting, as Chaz doesn't get the exit he wants. And nearly loses it there. Those softs definitely falling off a bit. As Callum and Warren fight. It's getting ever closer between the two. Drifting trying to hang on to the position as, oh, there's been a collision there. But bits of debris as Callum and I think Warren, yeah, they've had a coming together there at the last corner. both got wing damage. That's allowing Laser to gain a place or so. These 3 stay as they are. The top 4 stay as they are. So that's the third 4-car train has disbanded. Laser versus Warren. Whoa! As I don't know what that was, but whatever the case, Laser's got in front. Don't know what Warren was doing there, but he's now out of harm's way, luckily. So Oren still leads the British Grand Prix on the soft compound tyres. He should be the first of the top 4 to pit. Then Morgan, who's gaining on Oren. Will he go to the inside? Yes, he will. Morgan trying to take the lead, but Oren braves it on the brakes around the outside, but that does cost him on the exit. And now Morgan, wheel to wheel with Oren into Vale. Will he try around the outside? No, Oren again later on the brakes. But Morgan trying all he can to get past it. So you can clearly see how much Oren is struggling. 10 laps now into the Grand Prix on the softs. Chaz and Drifting, ghosting to their advantage. Drifting with much more battery than Chaz is under 10%. So Drifting stays in front for now, as Eggy also struggling for battery. They're all fighting as Seb has lost out there. Ghosting and dropped down to 4th. Don't know what happened to him there, but he was in 3rd. So either Ams did something, or Morgan did something, or Seb lost it on his own. Another question for the end. But now they have to make sure they don't disband, as Drifting versus Eggy to the inside. Eggy leaves in the room. Drifting to as Chaz has also lost ground as Seb gets back in front of Ams, who's made a mistake. Seb more than a second behind the top 2 now. And Eggy stays in front of Drifting. Chaz has also made a big mistake. He's lost 2 seconds in a sector. That's brought Dave onto the back of him. It looks like those softs are also wearing off. And the more Oren holds Morgan up, the better for Seb to get back in the DRS. Will he have it? That's the question, as he's 9/10 behind. He will not have the DRS for the first time. And it looks like Morgan this time will try and take the lead back from Oren. Oren going to try and brave it around the outside, but Morgan seems like he's in front. There's still space for Oren to slip his car to the inside, but he's going to stay behind for now. Morgan is now the new race leader of the British Grand Prix. The 4th different leader in 10 laps of Morgan, Oren, Seb and Chaz. So the top 4, yep, Seb's caught right back up to these guys now. As we have a yellow, and it is Bluey, I believe, at the back. So we're going to be approaching pit stop territory soon, within the next few laps, especially for Oren. And if he can get the undercut he wants and get a bit of a gap, that would be perfect, as Morgan's trying to break the toe. Oren to the outside, but will he be close enough to hang it round the outside, as Morgan has the better momentum. And Oren's just going to keep this going as Drifting versus Eggy. Drifting down around the outside this time. Gets the place. And unfortunately, he just can't quite catch the 4 in front of him because of this fight. Which has left him vulnerable to Eggy. And it was Chaz and Dave. But at the moment, they've dropped off. So Eggy was questioning whether he was even going to race because of his Wi-Fi. Having a good fight here for P5 as the top 4 closer than ever. And who's got the battery? It is Oren, who's going to fly past Morgan. And will Seb do as well? It seems like he's a bit too far behind. Oren, if he wants to pit this lap, needs to be on the right. And he is fully in front of Morgan. So do we see the Aston peel off into the pit lane? Yes, he does. Last second. Switches to the right and making sure not to speed. It's very easy to do so. Locks the fronts to make sure. And Oren's safely into the pit lane. Same with Drifting on the mediums. And Chaz as well follows in. Same with Dave. But Carbro versus the Sauber. Luckily, Carbro didn't want to go into the pit lane there. So, Oren onto the mediums. Drifting onto the hards. As we have a yellow. And it's Bluey again. Going off there. He's going to get lapped. Laser, 10 seconds for speeding, unfortunately. It was going to happen to someone. As Laser is lapped by the top 3. Morgan versus Seb versus Ams. Still there. Eggy staying out as well. So, Drifting has pitted for the hard compound tyres. Same with Laser, same with Warren, same with Bluey. So, you're either doing soft medium, soft hard, or medium hard. As Bluey now gets a 3 second. As Chubster and Carbro fight once again. And Chubster now gets the place on the McLaren driver, but Carbro finds a gap to the inside through Luffield, loses the rear bit, which allows the Sauber to stay in front. And now will Seb try and get in front of Morgan and then come into the pit lane. He's going to use all his battery he can to gain in the slipstream of the Alpine driver and reclaim the Grand Prix lead. We have a yellow, and it is the McLaren, I believe, of Carbro, unfortunately, as Seb does peel off into the pits. Morgan decides not to follow him, and Seb has to make sure he doesn't speed here, and he does not. So I believe Carbro had an incident, maybe with Chubster, into Cops, or he lost on his own. Bluey, 10 seconds for speeding. As I believe that's in the pit lane. I think so. Followed by 8. Yeah, Bluey's in front of him. So, Seb will pit onto the hard compound tyres. Eggy should probably do the same. Same with Chubster. It depends. Where does Oren come out and how long can he really take those mediums, as these lot have only pitted after 12 laps. Oren has to go 15. But the undercut here could be quite powerful. There's Seb exiting the pit lane on hards. There you see Oren fly in front. And the gap is probably a couple seconds. The main important thing is Seb hasn't got DRS. Drifting. Still a couple seconds behind. Seb, 1.8 seconds behind then to Oren. They've both got plenty of battery, and Seb's using it wisely to make sure he doesn't lose as much time as possible when he exits the pit lane. Ams versus Morgan still, as Chaz gets a 10-second for ignoring yellow flags. That was because of Bluey's car as he goes round the outside. He's fighting with drifting. We've seen these lot fight a lot as Warren's in the pits and retiring as well. Chaz gets in front on the mediums as well. So, because of Bluey's car, I believe, as a top two fight, and will they both follow into the pit lane? Or will one stay out? Am staying out, Morgan in, making sure not to speed. Comes the Alpine driver, looks good. So yeah, because of the yellow of Bluey's car, I believe Chaz may have overtaken in those yellows and got himself a 10-second, as it was an illegal overtake. Whether he chose to give it back or not, up to him, but he's got a 13-second time penalty now. He moves once, he moves twice, he moves back to the racing line to break the toe. It's a bit questionable, but anyway, Seb has lost 7/10 as he goes off there a bit to Oren. Oren, fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Morgan's going to exit the pit lane. You can see Oren flying by, and you'll see Seb approach soon. So Oren definitely in the lead, as Seb will come out in front of Morgan. Probably just over a second. So they are all separated now. And Morgan, if he is to fight Seb for the win, may have just missed his chance. He probably should have followed Seb in. Copied they should have copied one of the other. As Chubster gets in front of Christian, who's into the pit lane. So they're all a bit separated, apart from Eggy, who's lost out to drifting, and Chaz. As Laser finds himself back into the points. Exiting the pit lane, Carbro in 11th. Callum might... No. He's going to close in on Christian in the Haas car, but still going to be a couple seconds different. Ams still leading the Grand Prix then, as he's the only one of the top guys not to pit. The only one in general not to pit, as he finally decides to dive in. But will he put the soft compound tyres on, or will it be the hards? As Oren has a 3.3 second lead. He's loving these mediums, as obviously he's going to pull away from these two. But how long can they last? So if Oren gets some kind of penalty for the thing with Chaz earlier on, if it's a 5 second, he can build up a 5 second gap. If it's a 10 second, which it probably won't be. So yeah, that's Oren's plan at this rate. Or it should be. Getting a 5 second gap to the next car, but if there's a safety car, that's going to ruin it. If there's a VSC, towards the end it might help. As Ams in the pit lane will rejoin. Close to Morgan, we have a yellow of Callum going off, but now Ams rejoins. There's Morgan in front of him, and only just in front of him. So Ams still sticking with on the soft compound tyre as well. Does the McLaren driver exit the pit lane? So watch out for him, as he's all over the back of Morgan. And he's going to use his DRS now and his battery to go to the inside. And Ams now is the new contender with the top three, both in the championship and the race. As Carbro 10 second, as he also retires in the pit lane. So then there were 12. And Laser still hanging on to the points, but 10 seconds, 9.7 in front of Christian will give him the point. And Ams Could Ams potentially be on for a win if he gets past Seb? Sticks within Oren. And if Oren does get a pen, that would be the win. But if Oren doesn't get the pen, Oren would be on for a 4th win in 6 races, I believe. We still have 10 laps to go. Anything can happen. Quickly look at wins. Yeah, Oren has won 3 of the last 4 races. If he wins today, to win 4 of the last 5 races. It's not like he's dominated either. He's just played his cards perfectly. And that thing with Chaz was the only actual real mistake we've seen him make that's been majorly costly. 4.3 now to Seb as Ams is gaining, hoping to bring Morgan along with him to make him fight Seb as well. But obviously Oren is on the mediums and they are going to fall off towards the end. There's the race pace data. Seems like Seb has got a couple tenths in hand to Morgan as Ams is trying to break the toe there. Chaz has left Drifting, who's under pressure from Eggy. Drifting just doesn't seem to have the pace today, unfortunately, compared to other races. The last 5 races have all been won by either Morgan or Oren. Since China, it's been Morgan, Oren, Morgan, Oren, and today it could be Oren again. It's the same pattern. Seb, who won 2 of the first 3 opening races, and the only other 2 to win a race so far this season, Gekkeberg and Ben, both not racing today, but they've won their respected races. Right, we resume as a kicks me out my party again as we have a yellow and it's Callum who's retired in the pit lane, so that leaves 11 now. As Laser's just about 10 seconds in front of Christian. They're fighting for the last points paying position by thousandths here. Chubster has gained on Dave as he's in the slipstream, but with no DRS. They'll fight for 8th. Eggy and Drifting will fight for 6th. Chaz, a bit on his own at the moment. I'm sure he's going to try and somehow appeal that penalty he's got, but it might be clear cut. Ams all over the back of Seb now. And here we go then for P2. Ams could take it away. Flying with the little bit of battery he has left. Seb not really defending. Ams finds himself in P2 now. So a great race so far, but 5.8 off Oren. As much as Oren's mediums are going to fall off, so will Ams's softs. It's been a great battle between Eggy and Drifting so far. Drifting, can he hang it around the outside of Luffield? Not quite, but he'll be in the slipstream now of the Mercedes as they head on to Cops. As we see Dave versus Chubster to the inside. Dave stays in front but goes a little bit wide, and Chubster finds the opportunity to go in front of him. They're going to remain wheel to wheel. But Dave looks like he now has the momentum to be in front. Good battles so far. And Morgan almost caught a second of Seb, but he's just missed out as Seb is closing in. And he's going to hope that Ams can lead him forward. But tyre wear is going to be a big thing for the top 2 as Oren is going even quicker. But I'm sure the rest have something to say about it. Oren, who for the last couple weeks now has not exactly got qualifying right, but when in the race he has made it count as Christian now gets a 3 seconds, so that's going to ruin his chance. As Dave, I think, nearly got collected with Chubster, but they just avoided one another. Chaz closing in on Morgan a little bit. He's got good pace, of course, on those mediums compared to Morgan's hards. Same with Seb, so Chaz still trying to gain as Eggy's nearly left Drifting for a second, but Drifting has the DRS to gain back within. So they're all separated at the moment a bit. Seb is going to try his best to stick with Ams. But at the moment, let's say if Oren doesn't get a penalty, or even if he gets a 5 second at this rate, he'd still win. But anyway, that will have to be discussed after. We've got to take the game result as it is. So at the moment, Oren would get... Hang on. Oren would gain 11 points on Seb to bring the gap from 21 points down to only 10 points between Seb and Oren, as Seb would gain 3 points on Morgan. So the 17-point gap between them would be 20. So it would be Seb 10 in front of Oren, who would be 10 in front of Morgan. And for the first time, Oren would find himself in the top 2 in the World Championship for the first time in his EXFL Tier 2 career. He has 8 laps remaining. As Seb is closing on AMS, but it's hard to tell sometimes if his softs are going off or it's just because Seb has DRS. He is using more battery and pulling away from Morgan, and Chaz is absolutely gaining on Morgan. But due to that, not even the 10 second, the 3 second he has, it seems like he's not going to be able to hold on. Chaz would have been right in there if unfortunately the thing with Oren happened earlier. Didn't happen earlier. But he's still on a good comeback charge. And 13 seconds would drop him to 7th, as there is a bit of a gap behind Drifting to Chubster, as Eggy's unfortunately left. His Wi-Fi was doing... Well, it was holding on, and unfortunately now, Eggy is going to probably lose out to Drifting. Drifting has pretty much been given an extra 2 points here if he can catch Eggy. This will help Chaz in terms of gaining a gap to the Mercedes, as I'm sure Drifting will get the DRS, or wait, he's already passed the detection. He'll get the DRS, so that does give Drifting 6, may even be 5th, as Chaz is on the back of Morgan now. So Morgan, will he use Chaz to make sure he gains to Seb and AMS, as it doesn't look like Seb and AMS are going to work close enough to get Oren. And this lap, surely Chaz will be past the Alpine, but he has a bunch more battery. As going off there into the grass, holding up Chaz a bit there, is Morgan. As they cross the DRS, should be Chaz's, as they go wheel to wheel. And Chaz to the inside, gets the place. Morgan will try a switchback, but Chaz does have the DRS, and they're so close to contact, but they leave enough room. Eggy is back in, that's good, but he's 2 seconds behind Drifting, unfortunately, now. And Chaz versus Morgan. Morgan still using his battery as Dave is causing yellows. In the final corner, there is slight contact between Morgan and Chaz, but luckily, nothing happens as Dave drops down behind Lazy, who's found himself up into 9th now. Chubster will definitely get 8th. Eggy has to try and take control back of his car. And Morgan gaining on Chaz, going into Cop's corner. He's onto the grass, nearly trying to get past, and he gets a 3 second because of it, because Chaz didn't leave any room. But then again, he didn't really move, as Morgan tried an opportunistic move that wasn't really needed. As Seb nearly a second behind, but still has the DRS to stay in front. As there we go, Eggy's back in his car. So Chaz and Morgan getting a bit frictional between the pair. .6 now, but I'm sure Oren's mediums will start to fade soon. Same with Amsa's softs, and that will help Seb gain potentially back into a P2 spot. A crucial 3 points. And yeah, Oren looks like he's going to upset those who are having their home Grand Prix today. The Irishman currently leading the British Grand Prix. Gap's getting closer between Ams and Seb. Ams breaks the toe, going to the left immediately. And then we'll probably switch right like he does there to hold on to P2. And Morgan is gaining on Chaz, who has double the battery. But Chaz on those mediums is hanging on. Same lap, Oren and Chaz pitted. Fly into Cops, Ams and Seb. Chaz and Morgan, really unfortunate for Eggy, but he's going to take home 7th, maybe even 6th if he's still within 13 seconds of Chaz by the end of this. Now Morgan is going to definitely have a run on Chaz. Into Stowe, Chaz in none. Flashing a bit as now Morgan's going to gain the slipstream, use his battery. Chaz using everything he has because he's flashing out of battery. Morgan to the inside, gets the place ahead of Chaz. Slight contact. They went really slowly through Cops there. Morgan just holding Chaz up now. You can see the gap, 4.1, 4.3. As seems like Morgan really has missed out his chance to gain, as Seb is all over the back of Ams. We've got 5 laps to go. Chaz going to try and move to the inside. Morgan sees it, gives him the room. Chaz will now have the DRS. Same with Seb, as Ams once again goes left to break the toe. Now goes right to pick his line. And Seb can't quite close in. Chaz to the inside of Morgan on the mediums. Make sure he has no chance to try anything. And Chaz this time gets in front. Same battery levels between the pair of them. And Morgan will follow it through. Seb might have his best chance now to get back in front of Ams. The gap 8.1 to Oren, who since the pit stops has, well, not made any mistakes until then. As he went off, that gap's going to go down a bit now. 8.5, 8.6, 8.4. Yeah, it's going to go down a bit. But Seb is close enough now to potentially try a move on the McLaren. But he's just missing a couple tenths. That McLaren good on the straights, but you can see the softs are going as Morgan gets in front of Chaz, and they're going to keep swapping at this rate to the checkered flag. And Chaz knows if for some reason he can get that 10-second move, this is for position. As you just see how slow Morgan is through Vale. Chaz is literally pushing him around the corners. And it isn't helping. Ams's softs are probably dying quicker than the mediums, which is holding up Seb, allowing Oren to extend his gap. As we see the two fight again. Chaz around the outside of Morgan. That was so close to contact. And there is a bit of contact. But it's hard racing as Chaz now in front of the Alpine, I believe. Does Morgan get the DRS? No, it will be Chaz. He managed to time it right. Gets the DRS. Pulls a bit left to the slipstream. Blasts all his battery to make sure he has a bit of a gap. And the more they fight, the better, as Eggy is closing in on drifting. 2 seconds still. He probably won't catch him at the end. Chubb's just closing in a bit on Eggy. 7 seconds. Laser needs in front of Christian, who's under pressure from Dave, who's going to get P10. Looks like Christian's going to lose out here. And I'm sure Morgan will try and get that warning removed, but depends how you look at it. Might stay, as Seb once again not close enough, but Chaz is for a move. Morgan is, shall I say, for a move in front of Chaz, and once again there's a door opening for Chaz to squeeze his way past the Alpine, who goes too slowly again into Stowe. And now, yeah, you can see Chaz is just so much more confident through the last bit of the track. 3 to go then. Seb, I'm sure, will try and get Ams towards the end. Morgan, who's missed his opportunity today, is still going to be one of the 3 to fight for the title, but there is going to be a new switch of runner-up to try and challenge Seb, and it is the man leading. It's the man who's going to get 4 out of the last 5 wins, which is crazy considering he was at 1 point 70 points behind Seb, and he's now going to bring it to just under 10 with 1 race left before the break after next week. If we have this same finishing order right now, Oren and Seb would be level at the halfway point, but Seb is not giving up because he can gain an extra 3 points here, as I believe Oren still has the fastest lap. Yes, he does. Don't know if anyone's going to pit for it. As Morgan all over the back of Chaz. There's still battles left, and Morgan literally pushing the Williams as Seb. Look how much battery he's saving up, and look how much Ams is trying to deploy, trying to stay in front. So Seb knows what he's doing, and he'll try and get him probably on the last lap as Morgan gets in front of Chaz. Also no battery for one of the two fighting. As Christian and Dave fight into Luffield. And around the outside goes the Red Bull. Enough space left from the Haas as they're going to remain wheel to wheel into Copse corner. Blasting battery. And they're going to go wheel to wheel into Copse. Is it Dave or is it Christian? Dave round the outside as Christian goes off there. Fearless is the Red Bull as he gets up into 10th. And if he can gain 7 more tenths, he can potentially get Laser, as that's another penalty for Christian to put the final nail in the coffin. So it's going to be close margins between Dave and Laser for P9. And if Oren can get a 10-second gap, then I think no matter what, even if he got a penalty with the thing with Chaz, he's going to win. 4 tenths as Chaz gets back in front of Morgan. It's been a good scrap so far. Let's hope it ends that way. And I'm sure Seb, literally with a full battery, he's just going to get him on the last lap. and he knows he can. As Eggy has caught Drifting, and Eggy is in front of Drifting for P6. Even after disconnecting, he's managed to catch back up to the Alpine. And Eggy, with still a bunch more battery than Drifting, is into P6, and he is within 13 seconds of Chaz, so at the moment he's going to be on for a top 5 finish. One of the greatest drives I've seen. As Dave has made a mistake, which has allowed Christian in front, and Morgan gets back in front of Chaz. I was going to say one of the greatest drives I've seen Eggy do so far. As Dave and Christian fight again, they swap, all happening as Oren begins the final lap of the British Grand Prix. His gap is over 10 seconds, and now I think it's been coming for quite a few laps. Those softs screaming for AMS. It was a good strategy until it really wasn't. He tried, and it got him up into second. It was going to keep him in front of Morgan, at least, for a podium, a first podium for AMS since he made his debut back in Canada 3 weeks ago. But his reign of second might come to an end as Drifting gets back in front of Eggy into turn 1. The first overtake I think we've seen in that corner, as Seb looks like he's going to stay behind until we get to Stowe, where it can solidify his P2 to make sure Oren only gains 8 points instead of 11. And Chaz looks like he's also going to try the same thing with Morgan. But look how much battery Morgan saved. In the last 30 seconds of this Grand Prix, it could all change. But we know who's going to win the Grand Prix. It's going to be 4 out of 5 wins for Oren. The championship charge is looking ever more sweeter for him, as he's just got one sector to navigate. As Eggy gets back in front of Drifting. Battles galore as they head up to Cops. Eggy's going to stay in front. We look forward to Oren, though. Round Stowe for the final time. And Seb is in front of AMS as well. Oren into Vale. Oren, for the 4th time in EXFL Tier 2. He's going to come around the final corner. Oren wins the British Grand Prix. Seb will come home for P2. And something happened with Chaz as well. There was a yellow. There might have been a collision. Seb will come home for P2 then. Damage limitation, but Seb, it's another podium. AMS for the first time is on the podium in EXFL Tier 2. Morgan will cross the line in 4th. Chaz, it's been a really unfortunate Grand Prix as Eggy stayed in front of Drifting. And Chaz will unfortunately see himself behind both of these guys, even without the 10-second, to be 7th. Oren wins, gains 8 points to bring the gap down to 13 between himself and Seb. Seb, 17 points in front of Morgan, goes up to 23 now. As AMS splits the top 3 to get his first podium. Could have been Chaz's, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Laser is going to come home for P9, as he is more than 10 seconds in front of Dave, who's fighting to the line with Christian for P10, on track at least. And it looks like they're going to stay how they are. That's going off those Christian for P11, then Dave P10. Oren, the victor in Silverstone. There we have it. Oren wins the British Grand Prix from P5. Seb from pole will come home for a podium. AMS gets his first, started 3rd, finished 3rd, held his way. And even if Morgan gets that 3-second move, it's not really going to change anything. So yeah, don't really know if I can interview AMS because he's not Xbox, but definitely interview the top 2. Hope you all enjoyed that race. It was great. Right, let's get them in.
Hi, Jaden.
Hi, mate.
I'm finally back.
Yep.
You know what?
Right. Showroom 24. We'll just wait a second for Oren if he's going to join. Have you included your audio?
Yeah, I've included my audio.
Cool. All right, while we wait for Oren, we'll start off with you, Seb. Right. So, quali was a bit of a struggle right until the end, where you pulled it from absolutely nowhere to claim your eighth Tier 2 pole position. How was quali for you?
Quite good. I think I took half the poles this season, haven't I, with that one?
It's
Still.
round 10, so I believe you have.
Yeah, because I need to average one pole every two races still to get pole every year. So half of it. Anyway, yeah,
You've had half the poles this season.
I fucked up my second run. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to back. I had like 70% battery, and I was like, fuck it, go on then. But I decided to abort that. Like at the end of the day, I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna get in with enough time. And then obviously got out on that final run. Don't know how that was pole. Half spun twice. Well, almost. When I say half spun, I lost the rear end twice. Did not feel like a pole up whatsoever. But yeah.
Sometimes when you push that hard and lose it, sometimes it works.
Yeah. But
anyway,
yeah. Happened.
Yeah, okay.
Just happened, didn't it?
Yeah, fair. Anyway, yeah, you got pole for your home race. And then the start, you held on to the lead, at least up until the end of the lap, where Chaz and Oren sort of got in front. And actually, from your POV, because I think you were the car directly behind when it happened.
I was. Yeah,
what happened between Oren and Chaz?
I don't actually know. I can reel it back on my stream if you want, and I can give you a step-by-step guide.
No, I have got it on stream. I just thought, what was it like from your POV? It looked like Oren tried to hang it around the outside. They made contact with both their wheels.
Yeah.
And then even after that happened is when Chaz kind of lost it. It's weird. But anyway, he rejoined nearly into you actually, but you got the lead, and then all four of you were just in a DRS train until the pit stops. Yeah. Obviously, Oren was going to pit first because he was on the softs, which kind of made him do the undercut on the mediums, and he just didn't really wear them out.
Yeah, it was kind of just a miscalculation on my part.
Yeah.
Were
you not going to go for the softs at the end?
If there was a safety car, yeah, which is why I wanted the softs clean.
Oh, right.
But there ended up never being a safety car, because you know, whenever I prep for a safety car, there's never a safety car. But
and vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, and once again, you showed your mastery of saving battery, being the...
It's a lot easier to save battery this time around. I'm actually good at this game.
Yeah. No, towards the end, when Ams was pulling off great moves to get up in the second, and all you needed to do was wait until the end, because there was not really any point. If you got past him, you weren't going to catch Oren.
I mean, it was so weird. It's like when I got past him, I didn't want to get past him there. I was going
to say, where'd you get past him?
I got it down the, I don't know the corner name.
Luffield Cops?
Yeah, Luffield.
Luffield.
Because
I was going to say, I was going to plan it out, like, Oren's won, Seb is going to get him into Stowe, and then I see you already in second. I'm like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, he just kind of steered off the racing line, and then I was a bit hesitant. I was a bit hesitant because he was very, very slow. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go through and burn all my battery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's fair, because he obviously had like 13 while you had a full battery. So even if he had DRS and was kind of close to you, I think you were fine.
Yeah, I mean, going onto that straight, I was 7/10 in front, which is, I think, just enough.
I don't know if you saw what happened between Chaz and Morgan on the last lap. I don't know
they were like 6 seconds behind me.
Yeah.
So
anyway, really Morgan gains 8 points on you. It's another podium. So your gap between Morgan to you extends from 17 to 23, but your gap between Morgan and yourself comes down from 21 to 13 points, with just one race remaining before the halfway break. Looks like Morgan's still in there, but now you've got a closer challenger of Oren.
I just want to say, my shit
Yeah.
tracks are out the way.
Okay.
My
Fair.
shit tracks are out the way. Spain, I'm just really unlucky at. Like I had the pace around Spain. I'm just probably the most unluckiest fucker around there. Hang on, we're gonna go through. We're gonna give you a bit of an insight.
Yeah,
From
I'll invite
probably
Oren again.
Imola, Canada, Spain, Austria, I'll just pick up penalties, and then Britain. I wasn't really expecting anything. I don't think I was.
And how's Hungary for you?
Hungary,
Yeah.
it's quite decent. But going from we have this stretch of what I like to call
There's Oren.
just me of Netherlands, Monza, Baku, Singapore.
Yeah. It's all the races towards the end as well. I think you're pretty good at.
Yeah, I mean if I can.
Same with Oren, to be fair. Brazil, like that's going to be an interesting one.
Imagine the gap between me and Morgan, but me, Morgan, and Oren.
Now, when you three all went side by side into Stowe, that was the money shot right there. That was crazy. And while there still wasn't really any big contact between you three, which is great, obviously Oren had his thing with Chaz, but even if Oren got a 10-second for it, which I highly doubt, he'd still win.
I don't think it was his fault. I think Charlie understeered into him.
Yeah, it did kind of look like that. Anyway, we'll review later. Anyway, well done, Seb. Another podium. Extending your records, carrying on with your consistent see up there. But you've got an Aston Martin breathing down your neck more and more in the races to come. And this battle, I hope, goes to the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. But anyway, well done. P2 today. We'll see you next time out in Hungary. Oren, are you there, mate?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, mate. Are you able to include your audio?
Yeah, I've done so.
Cool. Right. Just switched over to Aston. If it would allow me. There we go. Right, Oren. That is 4 wins out of 5 races. Absolutely incredible from yourself. So you qualified 5th. What happened at the end there?
I missed my last run. I was meant to go out. I was just doing something on my phone, thinking I had more time, and then I looked
Right.
1 minute 15. And I was like, oops.
Nope. I think the track with the longest pit lane, you aren't getting out, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I planned to go out just over 2 minutes, but don't know what I was thinking. I just missed it. But yeah, So I missed my last run, but 5th still wasn't terrible, so not too bothered about it.
Just give me a sec. Right. So yeah. Anyway, you started 5th. You started on the softs. You made your way up to 3rd by the end of the first lap, I believe, or 2nd. So it was a great start.
I probably shouldn't have picked softs off the start, but now that I think of it, it's maybe a good idea. But definitely helped me to make the positions up in the first couple of laps, which was good.
Yep. And then here's the question I wanted to ask. When you got up into 2nd and Chaz was in the lead, when you both got past Seb, just take us through what happened.
So, if it was my fault, I've not looked back at it. I'll need to look back at it. But if it was my fault, I just feel like it was probably misjudgment. But from my view, I don't think I was in the wrong. I feel like he just kind of understeered into me a bit. And I know there was space on the outside, but it's one of them corners where there's so much space on the outside, and I think there was still space on the inside.
Did you clip it? Like, do you have the clip?
Yeah, I was streaming the race.
Oh, right, nice. Okay, cool. But anyway, I'm guessing, considering it seemed like it, you didn't let that bother you for the rest of the race. You got your head down. You were in a DRS train with with the other 3. You pitted first because obviously you were on the softs, and that was kind of your advantage for the undercut to pit for mediums. What were your softs and mediums on at the end of both stints?
My softs were on around about 45%. And my mediums were probably around about 36-ish, I think.
Oh wow, much less than I thought. But anyway, yeah, you pitted for mediums compared to Seb and Morgan who pitted for hards. So obviously you were going to have a bit more of a pace advantage. So you pulled away, brilliant consistency. Even Ams made his way back up through a few of them, but you never looked back since you pitted. No safety cars or anything to throw in the mix. And yeah, just in case for some reason you got a 10-second, you managed to finish more than that anyway. So it's a brilliant race. I got to ask, out of these 4 wins you've got now, which one has been your favourite? So what's that? Imola, Canada, Austria, and Britain.
I mean, all of them were pretty good. I mean, I feel like Imola was nice because it was the first time I felt proper the fastest person in the race. Every time before that, I'd always felt, China, I felt like I was the third fastest on, like I kept challenge for the win, even if I did have a better race. Imola, I felt like the first race that I was actually the quickest. Canada was good because it was in the rain, and I just started to pull away. I love rain and racing in the rain on F1.
Fair.
I think it's so fun. And then Silverstone right there, I had after the incident, I said I had Callum on the mic. I said I didn't think it was my fault, but he said there was a possibility that I might get 10 seconds. So ever since he said that, I was just working lap after lap to try get that gap to 10+ seconds just in case.
To be fair, even if it was clearly your fault and you spun, a spin is never usually 10 seconds. It's always 5. So I think you're 100%, 101% guaranteed this win. Anyway, you've closed the gap. You were at one point 70 odd points behind Seb, and unbelievably now you've closed it to 13 with 1 race left before the break. How are you feeling around Hungary?
Hungary, it's a track I quite like. I prefer the high downforce tracks compared to other ones. So
Fair.
I quite like it, but my pace isn't so good right there, so I'm probably just going to try hope on either it raining or a good race pace, but I really like the track Hungary. I think it's a good track.
That's fair. We have had a bit of rain at Hungary in the past. But yeah, it comes down to the last race then. If Oren wins again for a 5th time and Seb is 4th, you both go into the break level on points. But I'm sure Seb will have something to say about that, as he's just trying to keep up whenever you win. Always coming home for 2nd, I believe, in 3 of the 4 races now, or 2 of the 4. Seb has been right behind you, Oren, when you've won. I think it was drifting in, Seb, Canada, and Britain. And as for the other 2, I think it was like 3rd or 8th or something. But yep, you 2 are now the top 2 in the World Championship for the first time, Oren. You find yourself in the top 2, ahead of Morgan now, who unfortunately didn't exactly maximise. But anyway, well done on winning the British Grand Prix, spoiling the party for those who wanted to win at home. But yeah, well done on the podium, Seb, and well done on the podium, AMS, for the first time in Tier 2. We will see you next time out for the Hungarian Grand Prix to round out the first half of Tier 2 Season 9, and what a season it has been so far, and what it hopes to produce by the end in Abu Dhabi.